What a way to start our service. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. We are a liberal religious community committed to promoting peace and justice and siding with love since 1865. We've begun our congregational year celebrating the worship season of gathering, and the Chalice Singers have just welcomed us into this joyful, sacred space with the karanga, or call stage of a pohiri or welcome ceremony of the Maori, the indigenous Polynesian people of mainland New Zealand, in the Maori language, Aotearoa. The purpose of the karanga is to weave a spiritual rope, allowing safe passage for the visitors to enter onto the courtyard in front of the ancestral house. We hope that all of you have found safe passage here on this first day of October. Whether you're joining us in person, tuning in on the live stream, hello, or watching on demand at a later time, we hope you feel safe, welcome, and connected. For the first-timers among us, we warmly invite you to attend our newcomer welcome right after the service in the Redmond Room, which is the second door on your left as you head back towards the main entrance. If you see the wall of name tags, you have gone too far. We are here to answer questions and help you navigate your way through our energetic, enthusiastic community. You can also fill out a newcomer survey, which is available on our website at uuaa.org/newcomersurvey. To the first-timers, long-timers, and everyone in between, we are so happy you are here. It's October, which means that spooky season is officially upon us, even though the temperature outside this weekend would beg to differ. There is magic in the air. How else to explain that even though we watch the leaves transform year after year, that explosion of color still amazes us every single time? Now's the season for planting bulbs, raking leaves, putting in the storm windows, turning down the garden, putting up Halloween decorations, and making travel plans. Who here has already done your summer to winter clothing swap? Anybody? I bet you regret that right now. My winter coats are still resting comfortably in a wardrobe box in my basement. But I know that soon enough, the chill will be here to stay. It's a season of preparation. There's so much ahead and so much to do. But right now, on this morning, in this space, let's just be together. From fellow religious educator Sarah Getty McNeil, an autumnal welcoming. Come in from the crisp morning air outside. Come in wearing the autumn sunlight on your face. Come carrying the turning of the seasons in your heart. Whatever and however the greatness of life is speaking to you now, you are welcome here in our circle of friends. We are gathered in community. We are gathered for worship.
Many groups or organizations have symbols or logos, something that visually represents who they are. Really good symbols are instantly recognizable and concisely convey what the group is about. Think about the different symbols used to represent the world's religions. Our symbol, the chalice, is no different. This was created during World War II and was used to indicate to marginalized groups, in particular those being persecuted by the Nazis, that the Unitarian Service Committee was a safe haven. It was a group of people dedicated to making a difference, very literally, in life and death situations. It was a group that opposed oppression and took action to change it. How wonderful that we use this symbol today when there is so much societal discord, oppression, and uncertainty. We use it to remind us that we as a community come together in service to each other and to the community and to the wider world. May the light remind us that we as Unitarian Universalists can offer a beacon of hope through our actions. If you are participating in the service from afar and have a candle or a chalice nearby, please light it along with us and let us know in the chat where the chalice is lit. Where are you right now? I'd like to invite our guest today, Reverend Dr. Amber Beland, to light the chalice here in the sanctuary. And I invite you all to join me, even if this is your first time here. You are welcome to add your voice to the community's voice as we say together our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you. Some of you may be very new to us, but many of you are not. And I'd like each of you, especially those who have been here forever, to imagine you are hearing these words for the very first time. So just listen a moment with new ears. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. The words love and service stick with me, and now I'm intrigued. This is a community that holds these two things deeply and seriously enough to say this every week. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another. I hear the word covenant. It's a promise this community makes with each other and includes everyone. And again, the word love. What a beautiful community to be part of, where love is foundational. And I hear the words truth and peace. This sounds like a community I want to be part of. And to help one another. What a simple statement. But look at how that is manifested right here, right now. Think about all the ways someone is helping someone else this morning to make this day happen. So, as we do each Sunday, will you offer this covenant now to each other? If you know it well enough, look around at who you are with, in covenant with, while you say the words. Please join me. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
I have a question for the kids that are here with us this morning. I see some of you over here. I see some people scattered. I see some people way back there. What do you worry about? Yell it out and I'll repeat it. Storms. Good one. What else? Come on, I know you have worries. We all do. Another one? Ghosts. It is spooky season, right? What other things do you worry about? You worry about getting an F on your test. So school, kind of broadly, right? What else? What are other things? Sometimes the truth can be scary. Oh, wow, you nailed it. Soccer. So like doing well in your activities and sports and things. Anything else? Say that again. Oh, no, I'm so sorry to hear that. So we worry about our friends and family that are ill, right, or suffering from health problems. That's a big one. Anything else? Any other worries? What? Spider bites. Ooh, good one. Yes, or bee stings and things like that, right? These are all excellent, excellent, excellent answers. Thank you for sharing. So I have a confession to make to the kids. The older kids in the audience, this will not come as a surprise, but the younger ones, maybe this will come as a bit of a shock. And I speak on behalf of all of the adults here. We don't always know what we're doing. So, I'm right? I know I should be like, shh, stop saying that. One of my biggest struggles as a parent and as an educator working with kids is trying to figure out how to gently teach all of you kids about the realities of the world that we live in without making you feel despair or hopelessness. We don't want you to feel hopeless. That's a terrible way to feel. We want you to be kids, to focus on school and friendships and activities and skills, to learn how to be honest, to live into your values, to honor your own needs, and to be the best, kindest versions of yourselves. We want to protect you from the worst, while also preparing you to face a future full of challenges and struggles, and to build the skills necessary to make the world a better place. This is hard, really hard work. And what we don't always consider, especially within a pretty privileged community like Ann Arbor, is that we can't always keep that scary stuff from invading your world. Bad things can happen, even in safe spaces. Our story for all ages this morning shows us how one school community processes an act of hate and works with one another to heal and grow together. Something Good, written by Marcy Campbell, illustrated by Karina Lyken. The day the custodian found the bad something on the bathroom wall, all the girls from Mr. Gilbert's class were called into the principal's office. The principal asked if we had any information. Some girls said, "No, Mrs. Martinez." Some girls stared down at the carpet. Mrs. Martinez took her time looking at each of us. She seemed very serious and very sad. She said quietly but firmly, "This kind of thing won't be tolerated at our school." We all started fidgeting. We wanted to know, what is the bad something? Who did it? And what will happen next? The principal said no one was allowed to use that bathroom. But after lunch, Kyoko made a run for it, and me and Tanisha and Emmy were right behind her. We giggled our way in and shut the door, then shushed each other, shh, as we looked around and over and on and under until we saw it. The bad something. My mouth popped open. Tanisha turned around and ran out. Kyoko kicked a stall really hard, and the sound made us cover our ears. Emmy started to cry. The next day, the bathroom door was locked. The girls had to go all the way up to the second floor. Why do the boys have it easy, us girls thought? How does the principal even know it was a girl who did it? A boy could have snuck in. We all watched our classmates. We studied their faces to see if anyone looked guilty. We tried to remember who had gone to the bathroom and when, but most of all, we wanted to know who had done it and why. The bad something had made us feel horrible, all of us, because by then each of us had told someone what it was until everyone knew. Even our parents knew because the principal had called each house. Our parents whispered while they drank their coffee, but when we came into the room, they went quiet. Some of them hugged us at morning drop-off for way too long. We missed the days before the bad something appeared because everything was different now. Some of us felt worried or confused or sad or angry. No one felt nothing. We were meaner than we used to be. Like when Devin went to sharpen his pencil and tripped, and we laughed. Mrs. Martinez called the whole school to the gym to talk about something important, she said. Her voice crackled into the microphone as she told us that we were all special, that our school was special, and that she knew more than anything else in the world that we were kind, even if we forgot sometimes. She told us the bad something had no place here. Then our teachers gave us all pins made from ribbons in our school colors to remember who we are, the principal said. We held our heads a little bit higher when we walked back to our classrooms. Mr. Gilbert sat in a circle with us. His eyes were shiny when he said he had a big project, an art project, and we could all participate. When the boys came into the girls' bathroom, we snickered, but Mr. Gilbert said it was okay, because we were all in this together. We painted and painted straight through recess, all over that bathroom wall. Each of us had something to add. Mateo drew flowers, and Rosa drew dragons, and Kai drew both, plus rainbows and dogs and lots of smiling people. We drew our whole class, and then we kept going. We drew our whole school. The principal liked it so much, she let us keep working on it, a little bit each day, until practically the whole wall was covered. We couldn't believe what we'd made. But then we remembered. We asked Mr. Gilbert if the bad something was still there, and he said yes, that somewhere deep underneath, it was still there. But we had changed it. We changed it when we covered that wall with our good somethings. We studied our work and wrote poems about what we saw there. We wrote about how our painting had more green than gray, more sun than clouds. Then we wrote about the world outside the painting. We wrote about how there was more good than bad, more love than hate. We are nicer than we used to be. Devin reads his poem now, the very first time he's read out loud in class. Some kids smile and nod. Some kids lean way forward so they won't miss a thing. Some kids close their eyes and let his words wash over them. We take our time to look at one another. We all see something. Something good. The end. And now is that amazing time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. Kids, please stay together and follow the classroom signs. Do not run ahead. And as our young people head out of the sanctuary with their adult leaders, I invite you to sing with love and tenderness.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people.
I would say money is not something we as a culture feel very comfortable talking honestly about. How much we earn, how much something costs, separating out how much we need versus how much we want. But this is the beginning of October, and October is the month we launch our stewardship drive. Reverend Manish will talk a little bit more about that later. All I want to say right now is that we will be talking pretty honestly about this congregation's money and budget today and in the coming months. That's a healthy thing to do, and it helps us understand why we ask for money. Each week, we collect an offering. Today, your gifts go to the ministries and programs of this congregation. Now, some weeks we collect money for a local nonprofit, but today the collection goes to support the work we do here. Now, for one moment, look around this room, and can you name 5 things that your money is supporting? Name them silently. 5 things. If it wasn't easy to come up with at least 5 things, then we need to talk further. Did any of these come to mind? Money to cover electricity, quality air filters, heating and cooling, staff salaries and benefits, children's stories and classroom supplies, music scores and piano tuning, cleaning, candles, Kleenex, cameras, computers, assisted listening devices? Do you feel your weekly giving or your annual pledging is an obligation or a spiritual practice that connects you to this community? I hope you will come to find it as a spiritual practice, if it isn't already, and that your giving to UUAA, and very likely to other groups as well, is done from a place of abundance and generosity and compassion. The amount you can give is individual and relative to your own situation. There are many ways to give today. There they are. Checks or cash or online at uuaa.org/giving. You can text UUAA to 73256. And if a monetary gift is not possible today, or even if it is, consider giving of your time as a volunteer. We need you. And if you are just visiting today, know your presence here is your gift to us, and allow the baskets to pass you by. Will the ushers come forward now? And as you give, remember all those things you thought about just a minute ago, and add the music ministries to that list if it wasn't there before. The choir will bless us with their gift of music, while today's offering will be gratefully given and received. And I thank you for your generosity.
Running on the water,
Thank you, thank you. As the ushers come forward, will you all please rise in body or in spirit and join me in recognizing the spiritual practice of generosity by saying the words of our dedication together. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may have a seat.
Good afternoon. What a joy it is to be together in community today, and especially for me as I have the privilege of helping introduce to you an individual who some of us may already know, but others of us may not. My dear colleague and good friend, Reverend Amber Beland. Reverend Amber is a Unitarian Universalist minister who has previously served as clergy with the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Larger Fellowship and with our congregation in Annapolis, Maryland. In addition, she's currently working as faculty with William James College. Those in our community may know Reverend Amber in a number of different capacities. She's served as a consultant to the staff team, a consultant to the Board of Trustees. She's been a communications assistant and support staff member. And in the months ahead, as my sabbatical begins on November 1st, she'll be working closely with Reverend Theresa in supporting our community's pastoral care program. So the title will be Adjunct Minister for Pastoral Care. Would you extend a warm welcome in welcoming, for first time in person, given all that work that Reverend Amber's previously done with us, her first time in person here in Ann Arbor. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Amber Beland.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. So I feel a deep calling to pastoral care, and indeed my own call to ministry first appeared when my family was in crisis and our minister came to be with us, to support us and care for us, to create a safe space and hold us in ways we didn't even know we needed. And all this on Sunday before the service. Past that initial crisis, our minister continued to hold us in community. The congregation created a UU bubble where I was surrounded by supportive adults, my youth group leader, and my peers who listened, cared, and made me feel safe, while at the same time the people in the congregation did the same for my parents. This experience of pastoral relationship, care and emotional support, spiritual connection, and deep feeling of safety had a profound effect on the rest of my life. It showed me that a minister is not just the person who stands in the pulpit. They do more than that. They're a place to go when hard things happen, when you need to talk and you know you'll be heard, and that brave, safe spaces will be created for you. It led me at 14 to the path towards ministry, and pastoral support and ministry remains central to my understanding of how to give back to the world, to help others in the ways that I was helped in such a critical moment for my mental health and that of my family. As I moved into my work as a consultant and a professor, this pastoral ministry and support continues to inform how I work with students and colleagues, as well as how I approach the work with organizations and those in them. And it's led me here to work with you. I'll be working with Theresa and the Pastoral Care team in the upcoming months while Reverend Manish is on sabbatical. And I'll be helping hold that safe space in the coming months. I look forward to the work with you and in support of you, and I hope that you'll reach out when you need a space to talk, to connect, and to be supported. It's wonderful to be in community with you, and I'd love to meet you and talk more. So please come and find me during social hour if you'd like to introduce yourself and say hello. Thank you.
invite you to remain seated, but to turn in the gray hymnal to number 352, Find a Stillness, and join in singing hymn number 352.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. See the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true
I got to give the professional introduction to Reverend Amber, but I'm going to share a bit more personally now. Because beyond being a colleague, Reverend Amber is also a sibling to me, godparent to my children, beloved family member. It did not start that way. We've known each other about 20 years, and we've been friends for something less than 20 years. Because when we first met, we did not like each other at all. And a little bit has to do with the stereotypes of extroverts and introverts and how we just can be a little abrasive towards one another in those ways. Reverend Amber is a true extrovert. I'm not. And so one of my first reactions was, she has a thought about everything. Many thoughts being articulated all the time. And those of us who are more introverted like myself, you may have experienced yourself, that in our sometimes reticence, in our sometimes quietude and giving others a little bit of space, people can interpret that as a little bit of standoffishness, even though it's not intended that way. And the standoffishness can then in turn get interpreted as arrogance, being full of yourself, whatever. You didn't think any of those things about me. We had these initial reactions towards one another. But there was more. So I was a product of, 12, 15 years of education in our U.S. Western-based system, which encourages us, implicitly, to view peers as competition. Because peers are working with or against each other for the best grades, getting the teacher's attention for recommendations for scholarships, college applications. Oh, and beyond that, job placement recommendations. I interned, even after that educational process, I wound up at a career with the State Department, where we competed internally for jobs and promotions. Peers were not necessarily your friends, and maybe they weren't trustworthy. This was the implicit thing in the system that I had been raised and inculcated in, and here we found ourselves at the pinnacle of all of that at Harvard University. There are assumptions embedded in the fabric of our society and culture. They permeate everything. This thing that we call modern life or modernity is full of implicit, unexamined, and often unchallenged assumptions. This assumption that peers are competition, we just kind of take this for granted. We don't talk about it, we don't challenge it, we don't say that it doesn't work, that it needs to be redone. It's just part of the air we're breathing or the water we're swimming in. You can choose the metaphor that works. And so, yeah, I probably was a little bit standoffish given both the career I had had and the educational processes that I'd been a part of. Heck, these were Unitarian Universalist seminarians. The moment we graduated, we were going to be competing for the same jobs. I knew that. Best to keep my distance. Certainly not share my vulnerabilities or my struggles. Why would I want to do that? So we found ourselves in a study group. Now, we go through a very rigorous process in our denomination, which includes essentially like a credentialing examination. It's not called that, it's called a fellowshipping process, but it is very intense and very high stakes. And so we were part of a group of clergy seminarians that were preparing together for this process. And in the midst of that, of being together in that kind of a small group process, I went through what is not uncommon for seminarians to go through. The joke amongst those that go to seminary is that if you go into seminary married, you're probably not leaving it married. And I went into seminary partnered and then married, and before I graduated, I asked my then husband for a divorce. This is somebody who had been my best friend. And the divorce was amicable. We talked about it. It was mutually decided it's fine, and nonetheless, it was hard. Even if it was the right thing to do, it was still very, very hard to do because I knew that there was no going back to what had been that close best friendship. Things had changed. What I didn't expect, what I had no reference point for knowing, was how the society, culture around me would react. Now, this is, by the way, a uniquely American culture thing because other parts of the world don't necessarily work this way. Some do, but there are ones that don't. Here in the United States, if you go through a divorce, even if the couple themselves is doing it completely amicably and tells all the common friends, we're fine, we want you all to stay friends with each of us, oh, it doesn't work that way, and perhaps you've been through this. It is open season for any observer to then form their own personal opinion. Well, who messed up? Why didn't the marriage last? Who didn't try hard enough? Who screwed up? Everybody feels that they have a right to an opinion, even if the couple themselves have worked it all out amongst themselves. Now, I was the one that asked for the divorce, and because I asked for it, I was the one who gave up, who didn't try hard enough, who was a jerk. I was in my early 30s, so imagine all the friendships that I had made in my 20s, all of my basically young adult friendships, the only adult friendships I had ever known, I lost all of them, just about. It was hard enough losing the best friend, but every adult friend I had ever made, nearly, that was more than I could bear, and totally unexpected. And I found myself in this spiraling depression that I didn't even realize was happening. And it's a tender thing to say. I don't share this piece often, but that spiraling depression did lead me to feeling suicidal. And twice in my life I felt that this way, and this was the second time. In the middle of that, I was convinced that no one would care if I somehow just disappeared. If I no longer existed, no one would even know. Every adult friend just about that I'd ever had decided that I was a complete SOB. Here I am living in Boston, in a town I barely knew anybody. I was only there for school. Who would care whether I continued to live or not? And in the middle of that, this small clergy group that I was in, it was all UU seminarian women and me, the gay guy. But these UU clergy ladies, they would not leave me alone. I just wanted to be left alone in my misery, to crawl under a rock and even die, and they were calling me all the frickin' time. Come out to dinner, Manish, and I'll meet you one-on-one. Let's go for a walk in the park, and let's just talk on the phone. Answer your phone. Once you pick up your phone, pick up your phone. They kept me alive. You helped keep me alive. They didn't have to do that. They could have viewed me the way I was viewing them. Competition, graduation was just around the corner. We were going to be competing for the same churches and nonprofit jobs. They were living into something better than that unspoken cultural assumption that peers are competition. They were living into our Unitarian Universalist values in a really beautiful way. I want to take a moment to just look at this idea that I offer to you, that the air we breathe, the water we're swimming in, the culture that we're part of, which has become globalized culture, modernity, modern civilization, that there are embedded assumptions in it. And there are many hidden assumptions, embedded assumptions in it. We've touched lightly on one, the idea of scarcity, that there isn't enough. There aren't enough resources. There's not enough time. There's not enough attention. There's not enough love to go around. There's not enough. The underpinning of which, what that fuels, is this notion of we, human beings, are competitors with one another for those limited things, those finite things. And what does that mentality of scarcity do? Inevitably, predictably, what does it do? It separates us one from another. Scarcity, an embedded assumption in our modern civilization. Here's another one. Inequality is inevitable. Not just inevitable, it's a given. It may even sound logical, and it's an assumption, because there absolutely are enough resources on this planet such that no one need suffer. But the air we breathe, the water we swim in, tells us inequality is inevitable. There have always been people suffering without enough, and there always will be. What does that assumption lead to? It legitimizes an assumption The assumption legitimizes hoarding of resources. Some people having way, way too much, more than they could ever need, while others have too little. And in doing so, we legitimize not just the hoarding, we legitimize the existence of human suffering. Oh, it's just the way of things, that some will suffer greatly. But it's a result of an assumption. Here's another one. Oh, this one's rooted in the Abrahamic religions, in Scripture. Dominion. Dominion, not just over nature, but over other human beings. With regards to nature, humans, we are the pinnacle of creation. My God, the universe smiled when it created us, when it allowed us to exist, our species to exist. And so everything else in the entire universe is here for our use and our benefit. My gosh, the height of arrogance of that. Oh, and then we extended it. Not just everything, the things, the fauna, the flora. Oh, we extended it to apply to other people as well. Dominion not just over nature, but over other human beings. Some people are also there for our benefit, our use. This notion of domination, of dominion, disconnecting ourselves from one another and from the interdependent reality that is our ecosystem, of which each and every one of us is inherently a part. This assumption of domination, fueling disconnection. I'll offer one more. And we could create a dissertation-long list of these assumptions. You could easily add your own to this list. But here's one more. This is a tricky one, because in fact, it's deeply connected to our Unitarian Universalism. Human progress is inevitable, isn't it? It sounds so logical. Human progress is inevitable. You know who gave us that? One of the people who gave us that. A Unitarian minister by the name of James Freeman Clarke. His exact phraseology from the 19th century: onward and upward forever and ever. His vision of humanity. Well, in the 19th century, who knows, maybe. Here's the thing. That assumption, highly optimistic assumption, human progress is inevitable, it assumes time. That when challenges show up, with enough time, we human species will conquer. We'll conquer those problems. What if time is limited? Hold that for a moment. What if time is limited? We know, for example, with spiraling and continuing to unfold climate devastation, we don't have eternal time to figure that out. If time is limited, that assumption that human progress is inevitable, that human beings will conquer anything that shows up at our doorstep, may not be true. I want to invite us to intentionally, with great intention, look underneath these problems that have shown up at humanity's doorstep, most of which are our causing. We have directly caused these problems. And when we look at the broader global problems that our species is facing, underpinning those problems, when we excavate, when we dig underneath, when we do the work of looking, how did that problem come about? What set of human understandings and assumptions contributed to the rise of this dilemma that our species now knows not what to do about? These assumptions of modernity are often underneath these major dilemmas. What they are, these assumptions, They are essentially organizing principles. And in being organizing principles, we have come to take them for granted. Yeah, human beings have complete control over nature and the environment. Human progress is inevitable. Inequality is inevitable. Scarcity and competition are just the way things work. They interlock. These assumptions interlock and interconnect to create a paradigm. And the paradigm is essentially the global framework of human civilization that we're currently living in. They are organizing principles. Now, when we get that far, it's not unusual for human beings to start to feel the sense of despair that Stella alluded to with our Time for All Ages today. If that's really true, Reverend Manish, that some of the organizing principles of human civilization are defective, they don't work, they're unhealthy, what are we supposed to do? What am I supposed to do just as one person? What are you supposed to do? Do we go to despair? Do we give up? Do we just shut down? Do we pretend nothing's wrong? You know, I hearken back to my peers in seminary. They didn't stick with the thing that was broken. Peers or competition. They're not going to be enough jobs for all of us when we graduate, or at least the best jobs, maybe. They could have. They didn't. They moved with and into love. There was a person suffering in their midst, and the right thing to do was show up as the embodiment of love and caring and compassion, support, lending time generously, lending a hug. We human beings have always known better and healthier ways than the defective assumptions that plague human understandings of modernity. Some of those better and healthier ways of being together, healthier understandings, are ancient, millennia old, not just centuries, millennia old, and in fact have been the dominant organizing principles of some cultures. They're not the dominant organizing principles of modern human civilization as a whole, but they have been of certain cultures and certain people at certain times. They're not new. The other healthier ideas are not new. And here's where we, Unitarian Universalists, are at our best. We are a movement of people who love thinking of ourselves as rebels, and we love thinking of ourselves as countercultural. And here's where we can do it. All these defective, broken assumptions of this modern civilization of ours, this is our forte. Be rebels. Don't buy into it. Stand up against it. Speak out against it. Don't take it as an unchallenged assumption of modern living. Point out to yourself, to begin with, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. There's more than enough on this planet to care for every human being. There's enough love in my heart that if somebody's suffering, I can slow down. I can take 5 minutes and offer a little bit of love. Hey, resources, hoarding, yeah, I don't have to live like Trump, lying about how much money I have to begin with and then trying to keep it all for myself and my friends. We can live in a place of generosity, where resources are shared for the common good, where we have faith in our collective potential, and in fact that we know we can be better when we share our time, love, resources. You use love being countercultural. And we're doing exactly that here at UUAA. We have a vision process called Vision 2050. It resulted in 3 major priorities: climate change, anti-oppression, anti-racism, radical welcome, and inclusivity. Just as I encourage you to do with the excavating underneath, What are the unhealthy or defective assumptions of modernity? We can look underneath these major commitments of our community. Climate change, anti-oppression, radical welcome, inclusivity. Dig below them. They're not stated as such, but if you dig below them, you're going to find different interlocking values than the ones that don't work. What are some of them? Interdependence with one another and with nature. In that, growing out of that, part of that, a mutuality. I have to care for you if I want you to care about me. And that can only happen. Mutuality can only happen in the context of respect, not denigration, not backbiting and side comments, but genuinely finding a way to say, this is a human being worthy of some dignity. They have their own struggles and challenges. I have my own. We're each worthy of respect. Inherent worth not just for one another as human beings, but for our whole ecosystem, which includes animals and plants, rivers and trees and mountains. And in service to all of that, that different vision of what we human beings can be, sharing that dream, holding that vision collectively, coming together and sharing our resources, recognizing that there is a strength and value in that. The opposite of the hoarding, each to their own. Sharing our time, our love, our hearts, our caring, our journey, the ways in which we learn and grow together, and yes, sharing also our financial resources, because that's the only way a community exists. It's with the sharing of our resources. Howard Zinn, the historian, has a quote that speaks beautifully both to the time that we're in, some of these challenges I've shared in this sermon, but also the possibility. What he says is, quote, "We don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory." This is precisely what we're doing here in our community, striving to live into that marvelous victory, defying all that is bad around us, knowing full well that there are different potentialities that we humans have, possess, and can bring alive. We may not know precisely, as a people, where we or the human species is going, but we do know what it will take for humanity to live in a healthier and better way. And it looks a lot like us. It looks a lot like what this community stands for, believes in, and works toward every single day. May it continue to be so.
I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and turn in the teal hymnal to number 1020, Woyaya, hymn number 1020. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're there, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. We are going,
Stay risen as you're comfortably able. You know, this month is the launch of our annual stewardship campaign, and I want to encourage you. Please respond as generously as you can. These are days in which community matters, and each of you and your commitment and generosity to this enterprise, to the values that we are seeking to bring alive, matter. And as we do that, as you go back to whatever the rest of your day looks like, what the week ahead may look like for you, know that you are supported in the spirit of love by the people around you. Take a minute to look around, including those of you online. You're with us in our hearts as well. These are the beloveds cheering you on. We are cheerleaders for each other in striving to live into that better way that we know is possible. We know is possible. Go forth holding that commitment deeply and dearly in your hearts because it matters. You are loved and held in love until we are together again. Amen.